Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 29 Deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. FPL Team is your best one-stop shop for all your future planning. Particularly important when many of us are having fun with flags. Yeah, lots of flags. I've got 4 of them. I might be dealing with them, more of them in a moment. As per usual, between now and the 6 p.m. UK time deadline for Gameweek 29, I'll be trying to answer as many of your FPI dilemmas as possible. Many of your questions may well be answered on screen. Please take a look at them. My team is in the top right hand corner as it stands. You can see 4 yellow flags there. I'm lined up Kelleher, Van Dijk, Gabriel, O'Reilly flagged, Wilson flagged, Bruno Fernandes, Declan Rice flagged, Morgan Rogers, Igor Thiago, Captain Erling Haaland flagged, Vice Captain Hugo Ekitike. I have some decent cover in Bart Verbruggen, Dango Utara, Joachim Anderson, and Malik Chow. And I'm not going to make a final decision on what I'm doing till close to deadline. It's not to bullshit anyone. I just know that there might be some Man City stuff floating about on socials close to deadline. I.e., Pep said, let's see how they train today. Well, maybe someone knows how Haaland and O'Reilly train today. I have 2 free transfers, 0.1 million in the bank. The current intention is to make 2 free transfers, O'Reilly to James Hill, and then put him second sub, start Joachim Anderson, and at the same time, move Declan Rice to Antoine Semenyo, possibly move the vice captaincy to him as well for coverage to Haaland, because I think that he is probably the second best choice this week after Erling Haaland. To the left of me, you can see my preferences for captaincies. Haaland, Semenyo, Ekitike, Salah, Fernandes, basically. Wouldn't even consider anybody else remotely for captaincy this week outside of those 5. That's my order of preference. That will rotate with my correct score predictions for the 10 games this week. Bottom right hand corner, you'll see my predicted lineups. There are a few rogue predictions within some of those lineups. They are just predictions. Bottom ticker has next 5 fixtures for all 20 teams and all the flag players at the moment. And above that and directly below me are the benching dilemmas, where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order pages 1 to 4 with goalkeepers on page 5. Usual caveats of if people want to go all in and want to take certain people on, obviously do so. That's it. That's the plan. I'm not going to think about my team again until someone tells me something different is going on with the team news. But please do understand, normally I do these streams and I'm pretty locked in. I'm not at the moment. I really wanted to roll this week. Right, let's get into your cues. D-Dot is first. Says, hi Jay, like you had an awful bench boost 28 miles by a good score of 102. Ranked 10k, no wildcard, 1 free transfer. In my case, would you be aggressive with transfers, egg rice out, or roll? Concern is 32, 34 red arrows. Yeah, I can, because I've got the wildcard, I can be a little bit more aggressive about it. I don't know when I'm going to use that yet, but it's 33, 34. Might even land that I can do it in 35 under a certain set of cup results. But there are too many permutations to work out at this stage. Yeah, more difficult for you because you've got to be very precise with what you do. Under your circumstance, I'd probably roll. Simon Baker says, James, Nico O'Reilly, cameo risk or not? Yeah, of course, all these flag players are. That's the reality. All of the players that are flagged could easily be substitutes and come on, couldn't they? I think my instinct is of my flag players, I think Haaland, Wilson and Rice will play. That's my instinct. I watched the City game Saturday night and I think Nico O'Reilly really picked up a problem. That's my instinct. So that I feel like I want to deal with. Once I've dealt with it, I can't go up because I haven't got any money in the bank. Otherwise, I'd have considered something like Kanate. I did flirt with the idea of going like back to Saliba and going Rice to Somerville actually for myself because I'm probably now dead ending in 32. For most people, it's probably not a consideration at the moment. And I liked it as a little differential one, but I think the other route is probably better for me. Yeah, everyone's a cameo risk. Even O'Reilly, even Haaland, all of them are cameo risks. Jedi7 says, buy Raul, Iwobi or DCL for the next 3 game weeks. Preference for that would be Dominic Calvert-Lewin. However, it's personal opinion. I have an inkling that he might not start tonight. We've seen Liverpool away and Chelsea away as two different examples where Dominic Calvert-Lewin didn't start midweek games, and I'd just be a little bit conscious of that. Otherwise, he would have been a consideration for me as Haaland replacement, actually. If, by the way, there's like, oh, Haaland is definitely out, I think I'd go Haaland to Bowen. Again, probably dead end 32 for me, and I would go Rice to Salah, and I would just chase it with, as said on the Game Review podcast yesterday, very little reason for expectation. Why not go Semenyo instead at that point? I know there's a lot of other people that wouldn't be able to go Mo, and I would chance it. Daz J says, hi James, thinking of bringing in Szoboszlai bug, then a benching headache. Oh, it's meant to be, but bench Hill or Thiago to play Szoboszlai, or just leave the transfer and play the other two against each other. I'm not hugely keen on Szoboszlai. A number of people have been asking me about him. Clear, look, short game. I know most people are aiming their transfers for just a few weeks at the moment. Could he go off at some point? Yeah, of course. I'll just be, what's the consequence when Wirtz is back? Who's coming out the team in game week 30? We can't really see that at the moment. Could it be Szoboszlai right back again? There's the Champions League games to think about as well. I think Szoboszlai is largely pretty safe for minutes, for clarity. I'm just not hugely sold on it. I think over a short-term period, I would rather chase something that might go bang, 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 whereas I think Szoboszlai might go blank, bang, blank. It might be something more like that. JP Zizou says, funny thing, he's under Messi. Romero is under manners and his quality. I would bet he won't get one red in the World Cup. Well, we'll see. Jody Pegler says, hi James, start one of Rice, Wilson or Dango. Thanks and good luck this game week, Wilson. Vivek Gore says, hi James, bench one from Wilson and Rogers. PS, have Ekiteke, Thiago, Dewsbury, Hall, Bruno and Sarr as my starting attackers. I would start Wilson or chance it. He's top of the bench in dilemmas. Adam Sturdham says, would you start Dango over Rogers? No, I'm not doing it. I think Dango is another one where there's a little bit of a risk there, actually. It could easily be that Lewis Potter gets some minutes from the start. Mr. Trumpet says, hi James, start triple Arsenal defence this week or bench Timber for Rodon. No, triple Arsenal defence, go for it. Also bench one of Rogers, Bumo, Dango, Ajal Pedro, reluctantly Dango. Liam Doyle says, hi James, bench one of Rogers or Calvert-Lewin. Rogers. I'd still go Calvert-Lewin. I've actually got him top 10 for captaincy because I think if he started, if we knew it, we might do prior deadline. Not that we often get anything from the 6 teams that are playing at 7:30, but if we did, yeah, great, Calvert-Lewin. FPL Zorvik says, hey James, Rice to Sade, Szoboszlai and start Rayan or Rogers. Rogers over Rayan, security and minutes, maybe a little bit more open space for Rogers than what he's experienced in some games recently, might be to his liking. Sade over Szoboszlai for me. Tanky says, afternoon, James, Watkins replacements, bar Ekiteke and Bowen. Thiago. Otherwise, struggling. I think, Calvert-Lewin has said, little bit of concern. It's not great. It's really not great at all. So I wouldn't overthink. Bowen consistency. We'd had a little chat on him yesterday, like, he's at 16 points, 18 points over his last 4 with just like a goal and assist or something. Next up is Stevie Boy. It says, hi James, is bench boost 30 unviable if Haaland is part of the squad? I could have a bench of Dubravka, Rogers, Hill and Anderson have all chips in play. I don't love that. The fact that your 3 outfield players are all away from home. I get that. Hill, Anderson's fine. Rogers, fine. That could easily end up being my bench. I mean, it probably wouldn't be. I'd have Chow last sub in game week 30. I consider the game week 30 as an out. What I'd say to you as advice, Stevie Boy, is let's see how we sit in terms of the information that we're going to learn over this week. And it might be something you go, ooh, I don't want to bench boost in 33 anymore. It's going to maybe look bad. And it might be in that case you go, yeah, okay, pull the trigger. But on the face of it, as it stands now, I would say go without it. Gaza says, hi James, with Roast injury rumours, who would you pick for the next 3 games? Already got the Bravco's Darlow an option. He probably is. I'd say just for the next 3 weeks, Bernd Leno, particularly if you haven't got Joachim Anderson, would be an option. I don't hate Petrovic as an alternative. Just pain in the arse, but for 3 game weeks, it's Brentford, Burnley, then Man United at home. It's okay. I realise you might have a Bruno Fernandes confliction there, 31, and also a Brentford confliction now. I would say Darlow probably stays in for the next 3 as it stands. But if you could go Leno, you're pretty near guaranteed that he stays in. CMP says 1 free transfer and have Wilson, Rice and Haaland in. I'm okay with my bench cover if at least one of them plays, Chalobah and Alderete. Would you use the transfer or go Rice to Tavernier? Would you roll? That one would be a roll for me personally. Side Ashton says, hello, James. Verbruggen or Dubravka, ignore if on dilemmas. With all these uncertainties, start 2 of Rodgers, Wilson, Dango, Alderete. And what is the bench order for the other 2? The third is Estev. Smash it all. Yeah, smash a like, please, everyone. The order you've written it, other than I'd go Wilson in front of Rodgers. That's the only difference. I just think even off the bench, Wilson might do something. And I think he'll start. That's my instinct. Verbruggen versus Dubravka. I mean, I was in a position where I would have been looking at those 2 this week. And with Everton's home form, I just would have chanced Dubravka that Burnley might nick a 0-0 or a 1-0. Jabba says, sell Enzo to Wilson knowing I'd want him for 31 or go Szoboszlai instead or roll and just play Rodgers. I think that's a roll at the moment. Save the transfer. Harry B says, yes, James, bench 1 of Enzo, Rodgers or Wilson. I'm going to go Enzo. Hiradi says, hi, James, thoughts on Rice to Tavernier or Dango for 1 free transfer. With Arsenal playing at Mansfield on Saturday, you do think that they'll try and push Rice to play. That's my instinct. But I'm aware you're looking at it like, hang on, I don't know what you got on the bench and stuff like that. I think between Tavernier and Dango, I'd have a slight preference now. Brentford's fiction with Burnley has got a slight preference for Tavernier, slightly, but whichever your preference, mate. The Flying Dutchman says, evening gents, keep Verts. I have Haaland and Wilson, but Hill and Alderete as bench cover. 1 free transfer attempted by Iwobi. Not massively keen on Iwobi. I get the temptation. Would you have looked at him 2 weeks ago? Probably not. Chances are the points have gone, most likely. I said on this stream last week, I didn't mind if people wanted to go there in addition to Wilson, which you're saying you have got. So, okay, particularly if you're dead end in 31, I don't hate it. And therefore, if you are on that route as well, I think that's a bin, mate. Like it started with, well, yeah, you know, he's not ready to play today. Should be all right for the next game. And now we're suddenly getting forward. He's saying to yesterday on his slot, he's unlikely for Friday. That's in 12 days. What's to say he's going to be back for game week 30? I get it. Tottenham at home, it's like you want to hold, but I think that's a sell personally. Will Mercer says, hi James, I'm super tempted by Rice to Semenyo. I think you're having a similar conundrum. Current thoughts? Yeah, it's that. It's also, it's probably a better captaincy, right? If Haaland doesn't make it, what's the chances that neither Haaland or Semenyo play? It's in my mind a little bit as well. Also, if I cut O'Reilly as long as with Rice, I've actually cut someone on the path towards 31. I'd be in a position now where I'd have 11 for 31. And I really wanted to be in a position of rolling this week. The other thing for me, of course, is having bench boosted. My requirement of having saved the transfers to adjust for strategies. Obviously, the manoeuvrement is a little bit easier. I have less requirement to hold transfers, whereas originally I'd been like, I really want to hold transfers after the 28. But now that it's been used, I probably can do it a little bit easier. My instinct is, like I said, of my flag players, I think O'Reilly is the one that doesn't play. I think the other 3 probably will. I don't know anything. That's just how I feel looking at the scenario. Semenyo is a temptation. And the other thing I kept thinking, well, what if O'Reilly's out and City lose to Newcastle on Saturday and say the City Palace game did go back into 31? What a stroke that would be to already have Semenyo there, because they'd be wanting to buy him next week. Then I've missed Leeds and Forest. I've already missed Leeds. Status says, hello, James. Having Wilson, Rice, Rodgers, Haaland, who would you bench and who you think either starts or is out? Well, I would bench Rodgers because, as I said, I think all the others will play. That's my instinct. Again, I don't know anything. Ben Guy says, Harry Wilson as a transfer in for Enzo Fernandez for free. I think, unfortunately, we haven't had enough clarity from Marco Silva on Harry Wilson, so I think it's a leave it at this moment. Bertica says, hey, James, 2 threes. Either Haaland and Rice to Ekateke and Semenyo, or Rice and Enzo to Semenyo and Tavernier and hope Haaland plays. The latter move would mean benching Harry Wilson. I have cover for 31. Look, I think it's personal circumstance to whether people want to take Haaland on or not, right? If you said to me now he doesn't play, if I get that information in the next 35 minutes that Erling Haaland is out, I'm selling him. But without that, I still think he's the outstanding captaincy, even with the risk this week, personally. I am aware that I probably may end up taking him on with captaincy next week with probably Ekitike against Tottenham. And then obviously if he doesn't play 31. But also there is the nagging doubt in my mind, as I just said with Semenyo, if I sell him and City Palace ends up going back into game week 31, that's problematic, to say the least. So the information that can be learnt, listen, chances are City go to Newcastle and win, and it doesn't matter. But I think we've got to be aware of this. And I'm suddenly in a position then where I might be, oh, fuck, I've got to put Haaland back in, and it's cost me 4 transfers. Shit. We've not got that luxury for that at this moment. So I'd need to hear that he's out, truthfully, to do it. If it's, he's out tomorrow, but he'll probably be back next week, I will take him on, because I think I'll definitely take him on with Ekiteke 30, and then 31 will be what it will be. I'd probably just have to take it on, but I'm aware of it, so I want some clarity. Next up is, I don't know if I actually answered your question, did I? But because point being is, I would, at this moment, without full information, hold Haaland, generally speaking. But if people were brave enough to want to feel to take it on, I'm not going to tell anyone, don't do it. I've just warned you of what the potential consequences might be. There's a different consequence where it goes amazing. Sorry, this person's got their letters in foreign, what do you call them? Letters. Would you sell Munoz or Timber for Van Dijk or roll? I think that's a roll. I think Daniel Munoz next 2 weeks is good. Simon Baker says, James, if selling H to move to Salah, it's obviously Haaland, would you do it if it means selling Szoboszlai? Already have Ekiteke and VVD, so would need the deal to involve Szoboszlai out. I had this discussion with David on the weekend, exactly this, last week, about Szoboszlai, because he was kind of keen on putting him in the conversation with Rayan and Wilson and Utara. And I stress that that's the sort of scenario people would end up with. Truthfully, if you're selling Haaland, then, as I've already said, there's a chance that in half hour I end up with Mo Salah in my squad. But I'd need big clarity on that. Mo is not worth that money. He's only worth that money if Haaland's unavailable. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to take Haaland on. He's not been great. Yeah, but Mo ain't scored since game week 10. I mean, just ask yourself this, Simon. Is Mo Salah truthfully worth 7 odd million more than Dominic Szoboszlai? It's like it's because I can, isn't it? Now, if it's a choice to buy one or the other, yeah, I'll chance Salah. I wouldn't be moving that about at the moment, I don't think. JP Zizou says, how close is Sesko versus Ekiteke of selling Haaland? What, is in for captaincy? No, I don't think it's improbable that Amad Diallo comes back in the team and they use Sesko as an impact again this weekend. I think Sesko will start, but I don't think that's improbable. So from a captaincy perspective, no, if that's what you're asking, no. If you're asking about buying Ekiteke all day long, it's not close. It's not close. Ekiteke's got Wolves Tottenham next to. For me, it's not close. Adam Sturdham says, if City beat Newcastle, would you play 10 players in game week 31 and just keep Gay for his inevitable double later on? Or perhaps sell for Anderson temporarily, have 4 free transfers, already used wildcard? Yeah, if all I'd say to that is, if you've already used wildcard, there is more reason to hold a player like that and not feel the desperation to get 11 in game week 31, which is probably going to be largely quite shit, I should imagine. The only thing I'd add to that is, if City beat Newcastle, it don't mean they definitely double in 33, mate. If they lose an FA Cup quarter-final and Liverpool are still in an FA Cup semi-final, they ain't going to double in 33. Because Liverpool Palace would have to go in 33. As long as Villa make it through the last 16 of the Europa League to add on to that. AG says, hey, James, Bijou is my only real bench cover and Haaland is the only flag player in my 11. Would you sell Devaney for Wilson Iwobi and start over Rodgers, or use the free transfer to get a goalkeeper for Verbruggen? I wouldn't piss about with that. with the keeper situation. I don't think choices don't look good enough, truthfully, in that scenario. Would I go Devaney to... I mean, Devaney's a bit useless for you across this path, so I'm going to guess that you're going to want to deal with that at some point anyway. Would I chance Devaney to Wilson? Yeah, I probably would on that one. That's different, say, all Enzo Fernandez we know will start kind of gig. Aidan Gilmore says, Dead End 31 of both Rogers and Buendia, possible replacements. For Buendia, even with the fixtures, I'll put Crescencio Somerville's name in now. I think Anton Stack of Leeds is a decent one for you. Obviously, the cheap players at Bournemouth, Brentford, possibilities. Keenan Dewsbury Hall, good one for this week if you're sticking in. James Garner will tick over nicely for Defcons as well. There's a number there for you, mate. Another Hoop says, evening, mate. Between now and 32, do you think Pedro and Rice to Ekateke and Dewsbury Hall for a -4 will pay off? Thanks and best of luck this week. Smash a like. Is that 2 or include him? I'm going to say yes. My visualization is that there might be a real surge to captain Hugo Ekateke next week. Gazman says, evening, James. Good luck as always. Have Haaland, Rice and Wilson. Bench is Enzo, Munoz, Matson, Rowan Hope or Rice to Szoboszlai. I think that's a hold, personally. CMP says, popping back to say thanks for all the advice. Enzo to Wilson for a hit last week paid off massively. Nicely done. Ishan Hall says, hey James, 1 free transfer. Start 3 of Joachim Anderson, Munoz, Wilson or Rice. I would bench Joachim Anderson out of that. To Adam Me, who's asking me the question, the answer is no, but I do have my eye on it, and if there is anything, you'll get it. Everyone will get it. Real Sweetie says, hi James, apologies if I'm benching dilemmas. Would you start Anderson, Munoz or Hill this week? Thanks for the great content, smash a like. So this is interesting. So I prefer Joachim Anderson over James Hill, but part of that is I've got Igor Thiago. If I was sitting there with Jared Bowen, I'd do that the other way around because I think it's close enough, right? But Munoz would be top of that for me. Yeah, Gavin Richardson. Hey, James. At what point would a media pundit stop saying Spurs are too good to go down? They've been particularly poor recently, and as a 2 fan, 2008 still hurts. It's usually too late. Gavin, I don't see anybody, and I said this on a Patreon podcast about 4 weeks ago, I don't see anybody saying Tottenham are too good to go down. I understand there's a resistance to, club of that size with financial backing shouldn't go down. I don't see anybody saying Tottenham are too good to go down. So I don't know where you see that, mate. If you are, I suggest you're watching shit media. LP says, hi James, would you bring in Tavernier, Rayon or Stack as a 5th midfielder to play over the next 3 game weeks? I'd possibly just about edge for Tavernier now that he's back as a preference. FPL Stokes, he says, hi James, great content, mate. Bench 1 of Wilson, Rice, Rogers. Rogers, reluctantly. Wow, Wilson ahead of Dango. Yeah. Hazzy says, hi mate, would you do Rice, Goo to Tavernier, Ekateke for a hit? Have Rice, Wilson, Haaland flagged? The answer is yes. Fantasy News says, hey James, would you take a hit to bring in Semenyo for Bumo this week? He'd be my 3rd to blank in 31. Thanks for the content. Smash a like. Well done on last week, mate. No, I've got eyes on Bumo, actually. Yeah, not for this week. But he's in my thinking of plans. Like if I go Semenyo now, I might be going, Semenyo to Bumo in 31. Every possibility. So I wouldn't move Bumo out at the moment. Remember, City play Saturday in 30 in between the West, either side of the West Ham game. Obviously, they've got Madrid on the Wednesday, Madrid on the Tuesday. I would think Semenyo probably gets a break at Newcastle at the weekend. That would be my instinct. Next up is Fantasy New. I've just done. Thomas Davison says bench 1. I'm thinking my first sub will probably end up playing, but Rice, Rogers, Wilson, bench 1. For me, Rogers. Andy Max says, hey mate, bench 1 of Timber or Tavernier. Mar Rain says, sell Rice or Trossard to Iwobi or Szoboszlai. I'd rather sell Trossard of the 2. Genuinely. Sam Megginson says, I think Martinelli may well play. honestly. Sam Meganson says, hi, James. Who do you think takes pens for City if no Haaland? Thanks. Well, Haaland let Marmoush take one in the FA Cup final. Semenyo was obviously taking them at Bournemouth before he's left. I don't know about Cherky historically, but obviously he's fantastically technically, so that wouldn't surprise me. And obviously under the consequence that Haaland doesn't play, obviously that increases Marmoush's prospects. So I'd probably say Marmoush, I think. But I don't know. Yash says, hey, James, who'd you rather bench, Enzo Fernandez or Dango? Enzo Fernandez or Dango, Munoz or Anderson? I'd rather play Munoz over Joachim Anderson, and I would chance on Dango Utara over Enzo Fernandez. Andreas says, hi, James. Haaland and Rodgers for Salah and Sesko. What's your view on it? Good luck, amigo. My view on it is I could do it, and that's not on the table for me. Reedar says, hi, James. Hope you're well. After that crazy bench boost, would you play Goodmanson or Alderete? Goodmanson. Liam Doyle says, hi, James. 1 free transfer. Would you sell Zubamendi to Tavernier? Yes, probably. Yeah, probably. It's Swift says, hi, James. Take a hit to do Krupi and Rice to Ekateke and Iwobi. Already have Wilson. I'll just play Krupi and Anderson and roll. I would want to probably steam into Hugo Ekateke, personally. FPL Stokes, he says, hi, James. Was pleased to see that you looked into number of points behind number 1 spot on your stream earlier in the week. Are you going to play any different? I'm 38 overall and sweating it. I'm nowhere near your rank, so congratulations. At the moment, the answer for me is no. There's still too long to go. It's 10 game weeks, and for me to be in a position to think about playing differently at the end, which I kind of already am in the sense I've set fire to a bench boost, right? But it forces a certain strategy for me. So I will be kind of playing it differently to much of the template in itself. My only focus at this moment is points. Once we hit towards game week 32, that situation may be different. But I would say over the next 3 weeks, the only focus should be as many points as you can. And obviously consider things like rolling transfers, etc. Daniel Grelski says, which combo is best? 1, Boomer and Krupi to Bob and Ekateke. There's every chance Oscar Bob won't start. Just got to think, he was out for so long, he's going to play 2 games in 4 days. There's another reason why I think, or 3 days. There's another reason why I think Wilson might be pushed to start. Or Rice and Chow to Gakpo VVD. Or Krupi and Rice and Chow to Ekateke, Bob, Goodmanson, -4. Hard to fit Ekateke without -4 or drop in Bomo. I'm not keen on the Bob move. The Ekateke Goodmanson bit is fine. Chukwueze as well was really good when he came on Sunday. Very lively. I'm just not keen on the Bob move. So an alternative to Bob, and I would say the last one, mate. Matthew Broad says, hi, James. FPL speaking. What's your opinion on leaks and press conferences and run up to deadlines? Do you think it can be a case of too much white noise, or do you think it can provide an edge? Yeah, of course, if you've got information, it can provide an edge. Do I have a huge thoughts on it? And I just deal with the cards and play with the hand that I've got, basically. It's not something I can influence, mate. Stanard says, this is what the game is all about. People enjoy the chaos. Take care and good luck, everyone. Very true. Smash a like. Half hour deadline, guys. I need to remember at some point that I probably want to make some transfers. Talking of which, shout out to our patrons. If we have any team news for tonight or tomorrow, please drop me a tag on Slack. Double check sources. There's liable to be some dirty Liverpool lurkers tonight. And drop me a tag, and then I'll get it shared with the community here. But there is nothing information-wise as it stands as far as I am aware. Mickey says 1 to bench, Sarr, Rodgers, DCL, Bruno Fernandes, or Sade. From that lot, I would say Rodgers just about. Carver says, hello, James. Weird times to be talking about a fancy game, but I guess escapism is a thing. That's okay, by the way, to use this as a bit of escapism from shit in the world, mate. Thinking Gordon as a captain so I could roll. Please talk me out of it. Thanks for your work. I don't know if you listen to Clash of the Correspondents, mate. We even speculate on the idea that he might not start. I think he will, for clarity. It would still come as a surprise, but you've got to think about the week Newcastle got coming up. Huge game Saturday against City, and then huge game against Barcelona next Tuesday. The league game, as I discussed on COTC with Si and Alex, is the league game tomorrow night is the least important for Newcastle. Bellon says, everyone has Flag FC. I might have a chance. CM Punks is start 2. Enzo, Rice, Tavernier. I'd go Rice, Tavernier. Manish Argwell says, Rice worth keeping or sell to Tavernier. Can Keane start? Keane, I would say, is an unlikely starter, unfortunately. Not impossible, but unlikely. I would not go Rice to Tavernier. Huss says, hi, mate. You think Nico O'Reilly to VVD is worth it? Yeah, I think factoring in the doubt and obviously the additional fixture as it stands in game week 31, and even factoring that Nico O'Reilly could well be rotated in game week 30, and I keep thinking that myself. I would say yes. King of Mandalore, would you do Haaland and Elliot Anderson to Raul Jimenez, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Raul Jimenez or Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Salah? Have Wilson in 11, so would feel safer selling Elliot Anderson and covering Wilson better by benching Rodgers. Again, like, I can only answer it as it stands. And the question is, would you do? So the would you do is me. No. Josh Telling says, hey, James, is João Pedro to Ekitike worth the transfer or roll? It would be for free, not a hit. Thanks, mate. I wish you'd done that last week, Josh. But yes, I would still do it. Danny Alec says, who'd start between Enzo, Goodmanson and Hill? That one is still chance Enzo Fernandez, mate. Kaz said, not for FPL, but for a draft league. Can you rate Havertz, Marmoush and Muniz as punts, upside/starting percentages? Havertz is very important to Arsenal, but there's competition there, right? Gyökeres and Gabriel Jesus as well, right? So I thought, not great. Marmoush, who knows? Maybe Haaland is available and Marmoush doesn't start for a month again. It's Muniz, as in Rodrigo Muniz, rather than Munoz. I assume that's what you mean. I mean, Jimenez is first choice. So, I mean, if you said to me now, I've got to put one of them in, well, I'd put Marmoush in. But I think ultimately, whichever one you go for, you'll end up dealing with it later, I think. Armo says, who's off to Wembley, Donny or Stockport? For you, Armo, I hope it's Donny, but it could be Stockport. Heather says, hey, James, first sub, Munoz or Rodgers? Thanks for the content, as always, Rodgers. Ginger Britt says, yes, James. Hope you and the fam are well, mate. Yeah, all good. Thank you, mate. I hope yours are too. It says, benching headache, as I lose the question from my Fred. Sorry, mate. I will find you. God, I hate it when YouTube does that. And I'm a technophobe, right? Right, I gotcha. Wilson, Sade, Ekiteke, Thiago. Oh, benching headache. Imagine Ekiteke bench. I love that. Thinking Wilson with a minute's doubt. I think with the strength for that is okay. Personally, I'd still start him over Sade. Personally. But I understand the influence of considering different. Ben Edinson says, where would Rodon fit on the bench in dilemmas? Remember, he's a doubt. But I think in Rodon's case, that will definitely be he plays or he doesn't. I think many of the other flag players could be cameos. Joe Rodon wouldn't fall into that category. So for me, based on my predictions, I'd actually rate him above Joachim Anderson this week. Yeah, genuinely. And that would go for Goodmanson as well. Next up is JMR. Hi, Jimbo. Hope you're well, mate. If you had to do one of these transfers, which one would you choose? Rice to Bumo or Goo to DCL? Enjoy Thursday if that's possible and keep up the good work as ever. Thank you. I would take the DCL route. Mufassain says, hi, James. Who to bench between Gordon, Dango, Wilson? It's going to be Dango for me, I think. Yeah, I'm as suspicious of him as I am with Wilson. CM Punk says, are Rice or Enzo worth a move to Wilson this week? Have decent bench cover? It's probably a no, mate, unfortunately. The Blubber King says, hey, James, 3-3s, thinking Goo, Rice and Chalobah to Ekiteke, Dewsbury Hall, Leeds defender, probably. I think Goodmanson would be your safest pick at the moment. That or just Haaland to Ekiteke, but I'm unsure of that one, yeah. Goo, Rice, Chalobah to Ekiteke, Dewsbury. Yeah, the Dewsbury Hall Leeds route, mate. K2B says, hi, James, loving the content lately. What's the logic behind Rodgers over Sade on dilemmas? Currently own both and have been torn between them all week. Minutes is one. Also, as I said about Rodgers, he might even find playing an opponent like Chelsea a little bit more to his liking. I even have a suspicion he might end up in a wider role. And I think actually, love him centrally, but I think actually when he drifts into the half space and he can tack into it rather than move out into it, he's even more suitable to him. So he's carrying almost kind of diagonally towards goal that way. So little preference for Rodgers. I think Sade starts, but he's recently come back. He wasn't thrown straight back in. They've got options, haven't they? Otara, Lewis Potter. Damsgaard has kind of been out of favour a little bit, but he scored twice at the weekend. There might be a consciousness to move Matthias Jensen into a more advanced role and play something like Henderson and Yarmouth because they were a shambles for a little period on Saturday. So I mean, all in, Rodgers is your safe call, mate. And Bournemouth are much better at home than they are away in terms of their defensive numbers. That's well known. Murphy says, James, Russ to Semenya for 1-3, leaves me with 5 non-players in 31. With 3 FTs between now and then. Yeah, I think, look, if you can make that move for just 3 and 1 free transfer, I think, yes. Henry Malurish says, are you not considering Captain Semenya over Haaland because of potential Haaland benching but sub on? So we can look at this the negative way. I think, look, if we said now, and I know a lot of people have been wanting to take him on recently, and that's fine. If we knew Erling Haaland would start, Erling Haaland's the best captaincy this week. And I personally, I don't think that's disputable. So I know that there's enough people out there who will go, I don't like that. I'm a bit scared of the 1-pointer. Okay. I used this reference on the Team News stream I just did for some of our patrons before this stream and said it's almost like, what can I forgive myself for more? If I captain Erling Haaland, then he's a sub and he comes on for the 1-point cameo, I can live with that decision. If I move the captaincy off him, when I don't think the alternatives are particularly great, and Haaland starts, even irrespective of the outcome, I'm pissed off with myself. So that's what it comes down to for me. Murphy says, hi, James. Rice Semenya 1-3. I've done you. Sorry, mate. Sam says, Bumo versus Krupi to start. Bumo. HA says, hi, James. Best time to play wildcard and bench boost. Team dependent, obviously, but general opinion will be obviously wildcard 32, bench boost 33, but you need to be prepared to potentially change that strategy subject to what happens in the FA Cup. Perry says, good day to you, James. Would you take -4 to take Sarr out for Ndiaye or just play Sarr? Are you seeing who Sarr's playing, mate? I wouldn't make that move for free, mate. User says, what is the team news? If I knew, I'd tell you, mate. I haven't got any. If I have something, I'll share it with you, mate. No one wants to share it with me. Yeah, no, I've got nothing in terms of team news. Again, shout out to our patrons. If we've got anything in terms of team news, please do drop me a tag on Slack. The only one I do know, which is real strong rumours, which I think most people have heard now, is about Robin Roths. Possibly out for a couple of weeks for Sunderland. And quite a bit of speculation that Granit Xhaka might have another problem as well. Otherwise, it's no different to what everybody else knows. Tangerine Chris says, Dewsbury Hall not on bench in dilemmas. Currently got Rayon on bench behind him. Wilson, Rice, Bruno. Hoping one of the flag players misses out. Yeah, that's one. I mean, if you factor that I've got Ndiaye 6th on the captaincy, top 10. I kind of viewed that with Dewsbury Hall that because of the fixture, most people, if people owned him, they would just play him, particularly around a flag scenario and that. So that's why he's not there. So almost in effect, I'm saying, yeah, put him at the top. Absolutely fine. Yago says, FPL has been a horror show, so let me ask you about Champions League instead. Which team should we be betting on in UEFA Fantasy game? I would be very surprised if I don't have quadruple Arsenal defence. Genuinely. I've not looked at a draft yet or anything. Me and David will do our pod on Patreon on Monday. But yeah, I'd be very surprised if it's not quadruple Arsenal defence. That's first and foremost thing for me. That's other than that, I've not thought much more than that. Next up is Chris Koo. Hi James, would you buy Joachim Anderson instead of Chris Richards this week? In terms of, do you mean sell Richards for Anderson? It's probably reasonable because the additional fixture in 31, and even if Palace had it, you wouldn't want to play him against Man City. That is probably just about reasonable. Yeah, the one thing that gives me a bit of hope for Thursday is I do know Lacroix will be a miss for Palace. Asif Film says, is it too late to swap Chalobah to VVD? No, mate. No, it's not. If you want to get that done, get that done. Bertica says start DCL or Wilson. That would be a DCL. Get off my walrus. Would you start Dewsbury Hall over Wilson or Rice? Yeah. Yeah, probably either under the current circumstances. Yeah. Sam Streak says, hey, James White. Loving the content. Have one FT and the usual suspects flagged. I value Michele, but would you sell to Goodmanson or someone else 4.9 or under to have a stronger bench? I like the idea of coming right down to that. And I think if you are dead ending to 31, fine. Just have a double check of 32. Again, cup results might go like a riot and you go, oh, I've got to go through to 32. And then his fixture's not great. So, for example, I've kind of concluded probably Hill. And the tipping point for me is I think Hill makes my team better in game week 30. So the immediate problem in front of me is what I'm looking at. This one I'm okay either way. 30 is like, okay, yeah, I do think Hill is better than Jockey Manderson next week. The other two I was really considering was Goodmanson. Loved the next three. Really good cover. Didn't like 32. And the other player that I was really considering on my strategy was Diouf. Because I was looking at it and going, well, there's offensive stuff. If you end up coming in the team this week, so got problems, that's okay. And 32 is Wolves at home. And David was quite right. I asked him to do a free hit draft for 32 last week to kind of show the element about some of my thinking behind bench boosting. He put Diouf in a free hit draft. There was no argument on it. So yeah, if it's 31 and you're just going to be okay, you think you'll be okay for 32, Goodmanson fine. Hill also, that was bothering me, going to Arsenal with 32. So I'm probably at a scenario playing Chow at Palace at the moment in 32, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Not ideal, particularly if they did get through in the Champions League, might be a problem. Next up is William White. Why are you benching Dango over Rodgers? Have you got a leak? No, I have no leak. I promise you. No, my honest, if you look at my predicted Brentford lineup, we'll scroll around eventually in the bottom right hand corner, you'll probably get an understanding why I think there's a strong possibility he's benched. It's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. It's just on Lewis Potter, what I'd already spoke about, Jensen and Damsgaard. I think there's a possibility that he might be benched. Rodgers, Mr. Indestructible, no concern. And he's at home. And Bournemouth have been decent. Tell me how many players you've owned who have hauled away to Bournemouth this year. In fact, let's even go with attacking players that have scored at Bournemouth this year in away games. I'll do this. Sorry to piss everybody off. So, Mienda scored at the weekend, right? That's a decent one. For Sunderland, scored. Where are we? Bournemouth, Sunderland. Game before, who scored for Villa at Bournemouth? Can't remember. Doesn't feel like it was Ollie Watkins from memory. I owned Ekiteke. He got benched away to Bournemouth, so it wasn't a forward there. I was there. Tottenham wasn't an attacking player scored. Arsenal was Declan Rice twice. Gabriel went there. Burnley was a late level. I think Armando Broja, so not a high profile forward. Jack Grealish scored at Bournemouth. Callum Wilson scored twice ages ago. There's not many strong attacking players have done well in away games at Bournemouth this season. That's kind of my point. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, in a week as well where I got all these flag players, yeah, I'm comfortable with picking Rodgers over Dango. Scott Dunkley says, if I knew certainty Dango would play, I'll do it the other way around. But I'm comfortable with that Rodgers decision. Scott Dunkley says, thought I'd try something new and ask AI to help with my minus 56 team. I like a lot of it, but I'm go against the recommendation, not put Rashford in. Play your own way. Yeah, maybe don't do that. We Prino says, start two. Stack Enzo, Rice, or Jockey Manderson. Rice, Enzo for me. Asif Elm, bench, Rodgers, home to Chelsea, or Dango, literally just covered. Hassan Bali says, hi James, what's your opinion on Dango versus Enzo this week? That's a bit different. Enzo away from home. I would go Dango. Battered John says, start one, Rice, Rodon, Rodgers, Senesi. Start one from that lot. Checks bench in dilemmas. Declan Rice. I think Rice will play. Alfie Tomp says, who to put first bench, Alderete or Richards? Richards, unfortunately. I'm not going to read your whole 11, mate, because by the time I've read half of it, I've forgotten half of it. Worth doing a -4 to get Ekiteke, maybe Wilson or Roll. I mean, Ekiteke, yes. Wilson, no. Pudge says, bench one of Cunha, Rice, DCL. Grim Rice. Tabletop Journey says, hi James, start Munoz away at Spurs or yellow flag Rodon at home to Sunderland. I mean, what's Munoz in for? Attacking stuff. Tottenham looks strong defensively to you. I mean, the answer's there, mate, isn't it? Battle Power says, Rayan or Rice. For me, it's just about Rice, honestly. Rice's returns in away games is phenomenal, so it comes down to kind of risk element. Thank you for that, Craig. Appreciated. Yeah. So a few people reporting Frimpong starting, which I've got predicted anyway. It's not confirmed news, by the way, and you would presume that it's just Joe Gomez misses out. A bit of a rumour going around, but it's not been verified, let's say. FPL Zorvik says, don't forget to like the stream. Yeah, I need to not forget to make some transfers very shortly, I think. Flipper says, sell O'Reilly for Virgil, have Gabriel and Timber help. Sell O'Reilly for Virgil, have Gabriel. Yes. FPL Red, Rice and Krupi to stack an Ekateke for free. Yes, okay with that. Josh Robb says, only have one free transfer, 3.4 in the bank. I own 5 game week 31 blankers. Would you sell Rice or Roll? My flag players are Rice, Wilson, Verts, Haaland. Again, Rice is the one. Verts is the one definitely ain't going to play, it sounds like. So that would be priority first and foremost. If you want to sell Rice, you want to make two moves, for example, set yourself up for something else. Absolutely fine. You've obviously got plenty of money in the bank, and you've got plenty of transfer. I'm just trying to work out if you could get Verts to Salah there. Actually, you probably could. Looking at it. You could. I'm just saying. Bismarck Bellick, start Richards or Jockey Manderson. Paul Clark says, Verbruggen or Dubravka. Cheers, James, hit the light. Dubravka for me. Arsh Davari says, hi, James, play Rogers or Enzo. Rogers, Ryan Allen. Rice to Dewsbury Hall or Stack this week for Gu to Ekateke in 13. Dewsbury Hall injury rumours. I've not heard anything about that. 1 FT with Haaland, Wilson, Dango risks. I mean, I have to say, if you went Rice to Dewsbury Hall and wasn't just prepared to go -4 Ekateke in for Gu, I don't understand that. I would be taking the -4. Philip Bennett says, hi, James. One transfer, Haaland, captain, Wilson, and both play with Rice, Hill, and Goodmanson on the bench. Thinking Roll is the best option. Thoughts? Yeah, nothing to add. Good luck. Liam says, would you go ahead with a bench boost of Verbruggen, Timber, Rogers, and Hill? I have Haaland and Wilson starting. It's abandoned, mate. Look what happened to me last week, mate. It was ridiculous. I had 3 players who play every game. Suddenly, bang, bosh, gone. Mark says, hello, James. Love your work. Who would you rather bench? Krupi Jr., Dango, Rogers? Dango. I also think there's a chance that Krupi might get left out for Bournemouth. That's also a possibility. I think people underestimate the 3-day turnarounds. And these clubs like Bournemouth and Brentford don't have it often. Smooth Nightmare says, hey, James, hope all is well with you and yours. Start Wilson or Rogers. This I would still take the chance on Wilson on that one. Cole Palmer, thoughts on Tavernier captaincy? Not for me. I do think it'll probably start, but again, small risk. Recently come back from injury. Played minutes on Saturday. BT says, start Munoz or Rogers. Rogers will. Gray says, hi, James, hope you're well. Would you sell Bumo for Semenyo? No. Richard Seaman says, Van Dijk, captain as a differential. Also start João Pedro or Anderson. João Pedro, if I owned, yeah, I'd play. Captaincy, Van Dijk, no. For Greendale, homemate, best mid options to bring in for the next 3 game weeks have Bruno, Wilson, Dango, Rogers, Sade, maybe. Sade, I mean, Semenyo, obviously, you get there maybe for the next 2 and just move it on. Shivantar says, start one of Enzo, Chalobah, Rodon, Enzo, George Mitchell, I think. Rice to Szoboszlai, Dewsbury Hall, worth it. Rogers first bench. No, carry on for me. Mr. Trini says, hey, got 4 transfers. Rice and Wilson, Haaland. Bench is weak with Enzo, Mark, Gu, Mukele. What do I do? Raya, Dubravka in goal. All chips left. At this moment in time, I would go Mukele to something like Goodmanson and then see where you're at. I don't know if you've got any money in the bank, if you can go Rice to Semenyo, for example, if you haven't got. Or an alternative that's in here do seem to like Szoboszlai, for example. Yeah, I'd sell Mukele. I'd try not to do too much, I don't think. But yeah, something like Mukele to Goodmanson opens up some money. AED says bench Timber or Anderson. I would be benching Anderson. Holden says can go straight to Semenyo from Rice. We've also got Holland Wilson playing, bus bench of Chow and Maguire and Miley. Maguire or Dow. I think Maguire will play. So sell for Hill, Goodmanson, Anderson, just chance one on bench chance. Matt R. Tucker says, hi James, bench one, Rayan, Dewsbury Hall, Wilson, Rogers, Rayan, reluctantly. Liam Tebbit, hit a like peeps, thanks. Gel on car says, hi James, would you rather use the only free transfer exact money to do Munoz to VVD? Use wildcard in 24 successfully. I'm leaning roll, and if so, start one of Joachim Anderson, Hill, and Elliot Anderson. Roll, Joachim Anderson. Russell Glenn, I hope you're well. Apex Lion says, hey James, bench boost. Darlow, Goodmanson, Munoz, Strand Larson, no flags, Salah captain. I quite like it. It's not bad at all. Listen, if Leeds keep a clean sheet, that bangs, doesn't it? And Tottenham won't. Yeah, I'd probably do it. I mean, again, I can't see the rest of your team, so I don't know what concerns you may or may not have. You're saying you're okay. No flags. Quite possibly. Just check. Chelsea says, hi James, any yellows likely to cameo? As said right at the start of the stream, yeah, could be a number possibly. Patrons, hit me if we've got anything, because I need to make some transfers and you're all here to support me. and I love you, but we don't have anything as far as I can see. Just checking a few points of sources for potential messages. No, absolutely nothing as far as I can see in terms of team news that is reliable. So let's jump in, because I think I want to do this. I think O'Reilly to Hill. Oh, can you answer my question? No, I'm making some transfers. I'll be with you in a minute. Hill, you know, I have a habit of pressing wrong buttons sometimes, so just bear with. Reddy says, hi James, benches Dubravka, Rogers, Anderson, Fulham, and Munoz. Would you bench boost? I can't see your 11, mate. On the face of it, it looks kind of cool, but what's your 11? Halifax Migori, hi James, locked up from Qatar, even with all the missiles staying safe. I wish you the very best, my friend. I'm sorry. Extra JK says, bench 2. What we put Gabriel's in here and stuff like that. I'm just going to give you the answers. Joachim Anderson and very reluctantly on that, Dewsbury Hall. But there's more players than that. So I don't know what's going on here. Jim I says, hi James, one free transfer. Would you do Richards to Anderson or Roll? I probably would do it, despite my Tottenham protestations and stuff. I probably would do it, yeah. So okay, Rice to Semenyo. Let's just leave that there for one more minute. I'm not going to leave this as a 5:59 job. Nothing as far as I can see, guys, in terms of team. It kind of feels like it's more important to people. Jimmy says, I've done that one. Bosrat, I've got the cheap mid-issue people had last week. Wilson feels risky, low, and not great fixtures after blank. Think I'm going Dango and hope for best this week. I know you like Somerville. Anyone else? No, it's fine. Crack on, mate. I'm not going to put something else in your head at this stage. FPL Clessorge says, hi James, start one. Joachim Anderson, Rogers, Enzo, Rogers, Aaron Langley. Would you cap Semenyo if you had Haaland? Well, that's probably going to be me in about 1 minute's time, mate. So yes. How to direct Captain Semenyo in case Haaland will come on for a cameo. Listen, if I explained my reasons very clearly for the way I will do it, but if you want to go that way, that's also fine. Jerry Domu, hi Jimbo, I have 2 FTs, 1.4 in the bank, bench boost, 3 hit lefties. Rice and Haaland to Palmer and Eckert. I wouldn't be going anywhere near Cole Palmer at the moment, mate. Sorry. Karan says, afternoon, James. Yajatev says, I have the option to do Goo to DCL Tiago. Is it crazy to prefer DCL if I'm on wildcard 32? I mean, if you prefer it, mate. Good luck. I wouldn't call it crazy, mate. No, I think if he starts tonight, it's arguably the best forward to go and get for the next 3 weeks, other than Ekatekes and stuff like that. Gazman says, thank you, James. Thank you, Gazman. Mustafa Mohammed, who would you bench out? Wilson, Dango, DCL, and O'Reilly? O'Reilly, reluctantly, mate. Okay, I probably need to do this, don't I? I can't say I love it. Hesitant. Done. Now just got to set it differently. Vice is on Semenyo. And let's put Joachim Anderson in the team. Sorry, guys. You can't answer my question. No, I'll get to you in a minute. Sorry. This is very rare that I do this on the deadline stream. So that's it. Done. Save your team. Team has been saved. Check your points. Check your team again. That's always a good little trick, by the way, guys. Check your points. Check your team. And I should actually be able to remove that, hopefully. And that should show you my updated team, I think. Yes. So that should show up in a second for you. Next up, with 2 minutes of deadline, by the way, guys. So is what she is. You can tell I'm not thrilled about these moves. Homegrown FPL, Hi James, play Rice or Rogers. Rice. Elron Cupboard, it can't get worse. It can. John Lawler, Hi James, if you have Wilson, Haaland and Gordon, which one would you bench? Thanks. Gordon, probably. Yeah, just about. It sounds mad that, doesn't it? But that's how I feel. Jamie Murray says, Hi James, is the transfer of Rice to Stack worthwhile? For me, no. Matilda says, Hi James, would you start Timber or Hill? Timber, comfortably. Chris James says, Hi James, this is for a free Krupi, Rogers and Timber to Anderson. That's Elliot, Ekiteke and Tavernier. I have the same yellows as yourself, or hold. Thanks, James. Yeah, I totally get the desire to want Ekiteke. Totally. Totally get that. Totally get that desire. Sorry, I just felt the urge to. Okay, I think we're game updated. So, done. We're locked in, guys. That's the deadline, 6 p.m. UK time is hit. I know that because I was specifically refreshing the FPL page and it just threw me out. So, there you go. As AJ Cairns has said, Mr. Andy Cairns, hope you're well. Pens down for those I didn't get to. Apologies. I hope my questions for other questions have helped you. If you came just for the FPL stuff, please smash the like and hit the sub button, and we'll see you very soon. I hope you have a great game week. For those who've got non-FPL questions, please throw them in the chat. We'll cover them off, and then we'll go through the 7:30 team news together. See if we've got any shocks. I suspect that we might do. I'll answer some questions and content. Just a reminder, next deadline stream, by the way, is Saturday, the whatever that is, 14th. It's now a later deadline, I believe, so it'd be a 12:30 p.m. UK time deadline stream for Game Week 29. Very importantly, please don't make any early transfers for Game Week 29. I absolutely beg you. There's a lot of information that can be learned from the FA Cup, European games, injured players, all this kind of. Please don't make early transfers. No one should be making a transfer. I mean this seriously. Till like next Friday at the earliest. Switch off, log out. Upcoming content is an Ask James stream tomorrow, 1 p.m. UK time. There is a small chance that I may have to move that slightly forward because I'm on dad duty tomorrow, but the plan is 1 o'clock UK time. Me and Suj will be doing Game Review podcast Thursday. David's with me for the weekend on Friday. We're going to be discussing Tottenham v Palace. Some of these refereeing changes amongst some other things as well. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Do it because you would like to support the show and help me financially in my quest of full-time work on FPL. I'm very grateful for all the support I get. Or because you'd like access to the additional content. Basic tier get you no ads content. Basic plus will get you access to Slack and access to my planner. Intermediate plus will get you access to all the podcasts. Advanced tier will get you all the additional video content, such as the team news stream that was at 3 o'clock earlier today. Just another note for you as well. Ask James, Sunday night. I'm not sure what time yet. I think probably about 8 p.m. UK time. I don't want to step on anyone else's toes, but I do want to do a full week of schedule. And I'm going to Madrid next Tuesday for my sins. So I'm planning to do an Ask James stream on Sunday night, but we'll obviously repeat that on stream tomorrow as well. Right. If anyone's got any non-FPL, throw them in. George Michael says, thanks, James. You're a good man. I try. Wife doesn't particularly agree with that comment, but yeah. Miladovrat says, awesome live stream, James. See ya. Thank you, mate. Have a good one. Owen Walsh, cheers, James. Great job. Thank you. BTC is any UCL matches besides your lot in Madrid you're looking forward to? PSG, Chelsea. God, I've not really thought about it. I think my choice of game next Wednesday night would probably be Manchester City versus Bayern Munich. I think, not Man City v Bayern Munich. Sorry, Man City versus Real Madrid. I think first and foremost that would be my first port of call. I do think City will beat them actually. It's in the Bernabeu first leg, isn't it? Yeah. I intend to be going to the Bernabeu the day before myself, by the way. You reminded me I need to sort that out. Thank you. So, yeah, probably Madrid versus City for me next Wednesday, then the week after, subject to the second legs. So that would probably be the one for me. Atletico Madrid Tottenham would probably not be my choice of game next Tuesday night. Probably be something else. Liverpool's early kickoff, aren't they? There's Newcastle Barcelona next Tuesday night. I mean, that's your game, isn't it? I think. Abby says, why is your club called Spurs and not Tottenham in the league table FPL? It is like all other clubs are called by their first name and yours is called by the last name. I'll explain it. It's something I don't like. So Tottenham have requested that the media, I'm not media, I do what I like. I pay to go every week, guys. So that people refer to Tottenham as Tottenham Hotspur or Spurs. So if people ain't got the room to fit in Tottenham Hotspur, then yeah. Think of it this way. No one uses Nottingham. It's Nottingham Forest, isn't it? It's always Nottingham Forest. So the theory behind that is kind of similar to that, right? No one just says Nottingham. It's always Nottingham Forest. And that's the theory that Tottenham want to work on. Personally, there's another team in Nottingham called Notts County. There's no other team in Tottenham. So if people just want to call us Tottenham, it's perfectly fine with me. That's how I refer to our club. So bollocks to the club is what I say. Jay Loveshanks says, hello, mate. Cheers for the work this week. Can't believe it's only Tuesday. Non-FPL. Any new wrestling faves? I'm loving Obafemi. Love his entrance. I've been a bit out of loop recently since the Rumble. And someone asked me on the last one about his box. I did see that was Danhausen and didn't go down very well. Any new faves? No, I mean, I feel like one of my faves has just been taken away. AJ Styles. I'd really liked AJ Styles. But yeah, he's an absolute unit, that Obafemi, isn't he? Massive. Tabletop Journey says, why does Tell continually get looked over to start by Frank and now Tudor when he's one of the most positive left-sided wingers we have available currently? I'm very much hoping that he'll start on Thursday night, and I predicted him to start. I do totally accept that there might be an element of wishful thinking with my predicted Tottenham lineup, because I said this on the team news stream, I've got absolutely no idea what Tudor's going to do. Don't know the system. I haven't got a clue what he's going to do on Thursday. But yeah, I hope it probably has to be a back four for Matisse Tell to play, just for clarity. But yeah, I hope he starts. Very much so. And maybe he won't. Maybe he did enough with that cameo to give himself an opportunity, hopefully. SJ Emerson says, good luck, James. Have you seen the Football 501 content game and any thoughts on doing some as part of a Patreon quiz? I think you'd be unreal at it. No. Drop me a DM, mate. I'm not too sure what that's about, so drop me a DM. Amber says, when did you last go to a live game when you were a complete neutral? I think someone might have just invited me to a game on International Weekend, so I'll get back to them shortly. Aishanal says, any things you are looking forward to doing in Madrid other than the Metropolitano? I've done Madrid a few times. I actually had a friend that lived out there. I kind of want to say childhood sweetheart, although we never dated. But we were friends from me and this girl, and she moved out to Madrid, and I went out there for 4 days or so. This is going back 2006. Went in 2011. Obviously, we played there as well. Went for the final, although that was unfortunately was a shambles. It was in and out. I'm not talking about the football. I'm just talking about it was a fly in and a fly out, unfortunately. So familiar with Madrid, love Madrid. I think it's probably my favorite inner city one of the big ones. So yeah, looking forward to going back next week. It's a great city, Madrid, really good. You can have whatever you want there. Which at my age is probably a coffee. There'll be some beers. D. Dot says, if Bruno leaves United in the summer, who should they go in for? Or should they make most of the attacking talent they have and focus on recruiting a holding midfielder? Sorry, I read that question and I wasn't thinking about anything other than Madrid. Sorry. Well, look, going to lose Casemiro as well. I would think that what Manchester United have done over the last few weeks, if they get back in the Champions League, I think he stays, personally. I think if they didn't get back in it and he wanted to go, I don't think any United fan could particularly resent that. I think he's been brilliant for the club. So I would think he stays. But ultimately, if he left, well, there's things you got to do. And I would think in the immediate, considering you could play Cunha at 10, the pressing issue of replacing Casemiro would almost be more important. Yeah. Gavin says, this version of Eddie Howe reminds me of his end of Bournemouth days. He's been let down so badly over the last 2 summers. Should he be given another season, in your opinion? I fear he's done. Look, I refer back to... I get very mixed messages from Newcastle fans. I think that's not to criticise, by the way. It's just I think there's split of opinions. Some want to give him lots of time, and very understandably. Others squarely put a lot of the problems to blame at his, and I think there is a growing concern now that can he just do it with European football? Because it's like, well, they don't qualify for Europe. I wouldn't be surprised to finish 4th next year. Okay, then what? Same again. Like, it's beginning to feel a little bit like that for Newcastle at the moment. So I understand if there's change. My understanding is also that he's been heavily involved in a lot of the transfers. When you say let down, I know some stuff from some Newcastle people who suggest he's very heavily involved in transfers and decision making of who gets bought and who doesn't, and a lot of that actually squarely lays on him. Of even turning down some other targets that he's been offered from overseas and stuff like that. So that's not to put all the blame on him. Just saying he's not just given players and told to get on with it. He's kind of what I'm saying basically. So I think ultimately it would depend on what happens over the next few weeks, months. I think Sai's quite right. Sai said on COTC he really wants to give him more time, but that losing to Sunderland would possibly push it the other way. So this is a really big, important couple of weeks for Newcastle. BT says, no Rodrigo for Real Madrid ACL. Oh, really? He's done ACL. Right. And I presume Mbappe is probably a doubt for the game next week as well, I would guess. Yeah, that's a shame. And obviously, I suppose there'd have been plenty of clubs looking to invest in him again this summer. That's the first I've heard of that. Elron Cupboard says, what mad rule change will Arsene Wenger come up with next? Yeah. I just can't to answer it. Sorry. Mark Raven Mad says, do you think that Chelsea will ultimately build a new stadium or renovate Stamford Bridge? I don't know if there's any update recently in terms of the influence of the Chelsea pitch owners. Because essentially Chelsea kind of need their permission to leave Stamford Bridge, I think. And the reason that the people running the football club haven't really done enough to get the Chelsea pitch owners group. And I think Chelsea fans can buy shares and have the right to vote and stuff like that. Not done enough to convince them that it's necessarily the right thing for the club. The complications with Stamford Bridge include obviously the surrounding area. So, it is real centre of London, in a nice area, quite frankly. But it's also complicated by train lines nearby, and an underground line underneath is very complicated as well. So it's not that straightforward because, most of Arsenal has an underground car park, Tottenham has an underground car park. Chelsea probably wouldn't be able to do that sort of thing. So where do you park cars? I know it's really awkward where it is, but people will want to rock up in their cars if they're paying 20 grand for a season ticket and stuff like that. So it's quite complicated for Chelsea. And I think there's probably not an immediate resolution in sight for that, actually. I would not be surprised if you asked me the same question in 5 years and I give you the same answer. It's quite possible. I think it's probably going to drag on. Cost also has gone through the roof. I think Manchester United are finding that quite quickly with their plans. Like, oh, we've underestimated that a little bit. Daniel Levy said, our costs for our stadium rose quite significantly. We sort of estimated 500, 600 million and ended up being $1 billion. And Daniel Levy went on the overlap before he left the club in the summer, essentially said if Tottenham tried to do that now, it'd be $2 billion. So the cost as well, it just keeps going up. Addy Tour says, hi James, were you at Old Trafford when Pedro Mendes scored that goal that wasn't allowed? Could you see it had gone in from your view? No, I was in a pub. I broke up with the girl that night, actually, truthfully, because I wasn't interested after the game. I was heartbroken. Not about the relationship. I mean, in the pub, we could all see it was in. It wasn't one of them. It was like, it's gone in. And you just celebrated because we all could see that it gone in. And then there's that kind of moment. It's like, hang on, they're still playing. What's going on? It's a goal. So, no, I wasn't there. Had I been in the ground, considering where the away fans are at Old Trafford, yeah, I imagine most of the away fans probably would have been able to tell because they're in that corner on that side. And Carroll would have dropped it almost kind of back towards them. And it wasn't like it was going at 100 mile an hour at that point. So it must have been clear as day that he dragged it from behind the line. It was bizarre decision. James Brennan says, hi James, was watching Premiers. United lifted a trophy in 93-94 in the away kit. Can you recall anyone else not lifting in their home kit? Felt really odd and can't imagine it happening today. Can I tell you something that's going to really upset you, James? That was 95-96. Honestly, it's 95-96 away to Middlesbrough. Has anyone else lifted the trophy? I mean, you've only got scenarios where it goes to final. So had Man United won it in 2012, they would have been one. But I don't think so because most will try and do it obviously at home. And ultimately, it doesn't go to the final day of the season that much. That scenario with Man United Middlesbrough did go to the final day of the season with Kevin Keegan's entertainers. I'm just trying to think. I don't think so. Off the top of my head. No, I don't think so. No, I think that's probably the only one. I think. Elron Cupboard says darts, pool, or table football. Pool. For me, yeah. Used to play quite a bit. Used to play snooker every couple of weeks when I was in my early 20s. So pool for me. Birth Media says, hi James, what's your hit rate on player to haul and player to blank? How are you tracking? Absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. It's very bad this year. I know that. You know me. I don't pick the easy picks with it necessarily. And Nico's always pressuring me. He's like, "Come on, I need to do it." And I always forget. And I'm like, 2 minutes later, I go, "Yeah, go on in, let's do it." So I'll be honest, there's not a huge amount of thought that goes into it. Very bad. But my hit ratio on it last year was incredible. I think we started doing it about February time, and every week it hit except 1 week, I think. But yeah, this year it's been awful, mate. It must be about 20% or something. So yeah, don't take just use it as a bit of fun. Someone I think will do well, someone I think won't. That's it. Gavin Richardson says, with Tudor's no nonsense reported style and your players' reported reputation of getting rid of Frank, will player self-preservation win out in your opinion? Christ, Gavin, it's quite fucking deep, that, isn't it? Look, most of them football players at that football club need absolutely jettison out that club. And it's the one good thing about relegation, if it did happen, is I get rid of most of them. I hope we need an absolutely monster summer. There's not many players at that football club that I would want to keep. I'd probably put on one hand. And they're all young. Everyone else would go for me. Just leave it there. That if Igor Tudor loses the next 3 games, as I said yesterday, he'll probably be gone, and they'll appoint someone else in the next international break, and that person gets a bounce. That's probably where it's going to be. Some people are even suggesting today if he loses on Thursday, he's gone. Okay. Eagles says, curious about your thoughts on what results to watch for in the FA Cup. Seriously consider bench boost game with 30 over waiting for the double. Okay, so there's so many permutations. And this weekend doesn't decide anything. But let's give you a scenario. Let's say Man City, Chelsea, Leeds, Fulham all win, and they all have FA Cup quarterfinals at home. Let's say Man City draw Arsenal at home, and let's say Liverpool away to Chelsea. So even if they go through, and let's say Fulham and Leeds are at home, and they've got who's left in? West Ham's left in, aren't they? Who's the other Premier League team that I'm forgetting here? Sunderland, isn't it? Okay. So let's say it's Fulham at home to West Ham, Leeds at home to Sunderland. Exact fixtures we've got this week. I think on that, the home teams would all be favoured to win in terms of bookmakers' odds. And listen, most of those games could all go either way. That gives you the doomsday. If those 4 home teams all then won, I'm telling you, you're not wildcard in 32. It's absolutely nonsensical under that circumstance, as per what I covered on the chip strategy, and again on the weekend next Friday. Now, that's a doomsday scenario. The current path scenario is absolutely fine. If it all goes to plan, it should be, generally speaking, quite fine for 32, 33. So, ultimately, if after FA Cup weekend, you're sitting there and you're going, well, the projections are still Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, FA Cup semi-finalists, it's as you are. And then there are a few things to consider in 32, like, do you want a wild card and go without Manchester United players at home to Leeds? Bearing in mind that it may then just be a single for Manchester United, for example. A few other teams maybe as well, but that's probably the main one is Manchester United. It wouldn't look too bad under that sort of circumstance. And I think you can put something together that looks good. Now, what I would say about that in terms of the current projections, I don't think the actual enabler options will be great. So I think you might end up with something where let's say your 4th and your 5th defenders are something like Van Heck and Chris Richards. I think that's how it might end up, is something like that. That's not great. So to actually throw it back in where one of the underdogs made it through, for example, instead, and maybe let's say notch Chelsea out of it, might look a little bit better even still. There were too many permutations to go through. What I would say is use a tool like FPL Team, and obviously you can move the projections to your own will. Creepy benched. Pretty much every other relevant asset starts as far as I can see. That's the message that I've just had. So that means for most people, I've just had a message to say that the Liverpool team is what I predicted, and you'll find out in an hour. Yeah, let's do these team news. Let's have a quick look, see what we've got then. So it sounds like no major concerns, mainly for people. We'll just clarify, maybe a few things watch out. My game of choice tonight is Bournemouth Brentford. Is the one I'll be watching. That seems like the most relevant one for FPL, obviously. Sunderland team. So the Robin Rose was obviously correct. So Elborg in goal, Gertruda, Ballard, Alderete, Hume, Siddiqui, Diarra, Luco 9, Angulo, Mienda, and Lafay. So it's Talby on the bench is maybe the surprise one there for them. Leeds lineup: Darlow, Justin, Rodon, Start, Strauch, Bogle, Gruev, Ampadu, Stack, Goodmanson, Aronson, Calvert-Lewin. That's their best team, basically. Bournemouth: Petrovic, Jimenez, Hill, Senesi, Truffaut, Scott, Adams, Rayan, Christie, Tavernier, Evan Nilsson. Evan Nilsson made it, started. So Brooks is a sub, Adley's a sub, Kruppi's a sub, Unel's a sub. Okay. The Brentford lineup: Kelleher, Coyote, Collins back in, which, yeah, you can see the predicted Brentford lineup when it comes around if you want. Vandenberg, Henry, Henderson, Jensen, Utara, Damsgaard, Sade, Thiago. So for the lad in here who seems to be assessing like I'm hiding a secret on Utara, no, it was just a prediction, mate. It's not me, mate. Burnley: Dubravka, Humphreys, Worrell, Estev, Walker, Ugochukwu, Hannibal, Pires, Florentino, Lewis, Jaden Anthony, Lyle Foster. And Everton is Pickford, O'Brien, Tarkovsky, Brantford, Mikolenko, Garner, Idrissa Garner game, McNeil, Dewsbury, Hall, and Dyer. And Beto does start again. I thought he would. I thought there would be some reward for him for the weekend. Okay, let's wrap up these questions. Yeah, I hate the idea of the Wenger offside rule. We spoke about it on our Patreon Q&A a little bit yesterday. Not the offside rule. In fact, no, it was on the game review podcast yesterday. The idea just judge it on fucking fate. This shoulder volley, like Jaden Anthony, half his shoulders offside. Fuck all this shit, man. Just judge it on feet. It's also easier to the naked eye for humans to tell, and non-humans. Like genuinely, yeah, non-humans. Fucking track the fucking feet. It's semi-automated bollocks. Does anyone think it's any quicker? Absolute. It's going to speed it up. Fucking nonsense bollocks. No, I hate the Wenger offside rule. Would there be more goals? Yeah, but not how you want them. All it's going to mean is people are just going to defend deeper. Oh, he's behind me. I can't let him behind me. Deeper. Got the wrong idea here. Not you, Wenger. Gavin Richardson. For such an intelligent man, I don't understand it. Gavin says 100% about the Sunderland game being massive. Size and excellent COTC pundit. I had my doubts after the cup final review of him in a bar in New York trying to stream the final. He won me round. He's a good lad. It's personal circumstances for people, right? Matt Martin says, apologies if you've answered this previously. Who's your favourite Spurs player of all time? How about your old man's favourite? Ledley. Proper Tottenham. Ledley. Best would be Gareth Bale in terms of peak. And I think Harry Kane probably completes the top three there. It's fairly straightforward. My dad's favourite ever would be Jimmy Greaves. It would be Jimmy Greaves, or he'd talk to you till the cows come home about him, or Dave Mackay. A more modern one, less black and white television, nod for probably Hoddle in the 80s. Modern ones, yeah, I'd probably go with Kane as well, I think, probably, of the Premier League era, probably. I've never asked him that. To be honest, if I asked him that, he'd just start talking about the 60s. I don't need that. Tabletop Journey says, thoughts on online theories Spurs are being ref differently to other clubs, or is it just everything seems amplified because tactically we're so poor at the moment? I'm not interested in it. Tottenham fans should stop acting like Arsenal fans. Stop fucking whinging. Like, honestly, all these pushes in the back, I said this yesterday, all of those decisions were given us on field. None of them got overturned by VAR. So, if, for example, the Jimenez one on Dragoshin, right? If you're comparing that to the Kolo Muani one, let's say that the ref decided on field it was a foul. Right, there is no way VAR is overturning that and giving a goal. In the same way, I'm not going to overturn the Kolo Muani one because there is a push there. So it's not a clear and obvious mistake. And it's not the biggest push. Does it influence Dragoshin? Yeah, a little bit. Do you know what? The referee give it on the field. Get on with it. We're too shit to be having excuses. Referee, we got beat anyway. Honestly, abysmal. So, you know me, I don't like to go down the path of referees. If I get it wrong, I say I got it wrong. My personal opinion, it probably does get a nudge. I definitely don't think that the Muani goal should have stood, by the way. For me, that's a clear foul. That one, I think, he probably does get a nudge. But clear and obvious? Nah, man. So, we're not being refereed any differently. No. We all feel as football fans that we've kind of victimised in our own way. We all get targeted. I've had these discussions with Clayton in the past before. It's like said to me, I feel like Arsenal being targeted more. Well, the better you are, the more you get targeted and stuff. And for Tottenham at the moment, you're obviously, and deservedly, going to get a lot of hate, right? Because I totally understand most neutrals probably want Tottenham to go down. Yeah, I understand that, right? So you feel like you're being attacked. Well, we've got to put up with that. That's our problem at the moment. But most football fans feel like there's biases against them. This is no different. So no, I don't think we're being refereed any differently, mate. I think we're playing differently to everybody else. Valentine, hi James, I'm 60 points off first. What do you think at what point I should just throw all strats aside? I really don't want to do any more FPL, but as I said during the stream earlier, mate, focus on the next few weeks should be just about points, and let's review where you're at in Game Week 32. Bosrat saying about Brentford. Yeah, Janalanka, thank you. Yeah, Sweet Blues. I think all teams look pretty much as expected. No fancy assets missing that I could see other than Roast, I guess. Croupy is the one, yeah. So I was surprised. There's not been actually a bit more rotation there from Bournemouth and Brentford. There is little bits, but it's not impacted fantasy. Okay, I'll leave it there, guys. Much love. As I said, if you want to join me on Ask James, scheduled for 1 o'clock tomorrow, please be aware. As I said, I may have to bring that time forward slightly. If it is, it will be 12:30 at the earliest. Have a good night. Enjoy the football. Smash a like. Hit the sub button. And remember, the game week's not over till Wednesday. Unless you got Crystal Palace assets on Thursday. Ciao for now, everyone. Thank you.